Today I'm going to show you how to change the oil on a first gen Sequoia, and this probably also applies to first gen Tundras. Let's get into it. Okay, to better prepare yourself for this, some of the tools that you're going to need. For starters, you're going to need a 14 millimeter socket for the drain plug, a 12 millimeter socket. Where's it at? A 12 millimeter socket for the splash guard, some sort of ratchet with a little extension on it, oil filter pliers. Flashlight is optional. I prefer to use it. I'm going to be using my impact for the splash guard underneath. It just makes it quicker. And then have yourself the oil, an oil filter right there. Here's your oil filter. I'm obviously not sponsored by any of these brands or products. It's just my own choice of what I like to use. I always do recommend using Lucas heavy duty oil stabilizer in oil changes. I use it in everything I own. So next thing is want to have yourself a good rag, and then a drain pan, and then have yourself a funnel. All right, to start off, always make sure you pull your oil cap off, because there's nothing worse than draining your oil and then your oil filler cap is stuck, or I've even seen it in the past where it'll break off and the threaded part is stuck down in here, and then you're stuck getting trying to get that out before you can even put oil in. So just loosen it up, then take your dipstick, just pull it out a little bit, so that way whenever you're draining the oil, it's not creating a vacuum down in the crankcase, and it'll drain out faster. And it probably would help if you actually ran your engine for probably maybe 5 to 10 minutes beforehand to help thin out the oil, and it'll tend to drain faster. So okay, for starters, you got to get the splash guard out of the way, and there's 5 bolts on this thing. There's one on this corner. Where's it at? One right here on this corner, right there. There's 3 in the front. One here, one right there, one right here. And there are, if I remember correctly, on these outer ones, there's actually hooks on the inside, so whenever you go to take this guard off, it won't completely drop. It'll actually just hang right here on these. So all right, I'm going to go and take this plate off, the splash guard off. There you go. And just slide it out of the way. And that will give you access to your oil filter. And there is drain plug right there. And that's the one you'll need a 14 millimeter on to get that out. Whenever you do take them out, be careful. There is supposed to be some sort of like a little washer or crutch sleeve underneath it. Try not to lose that. Alright, now is when you want to grab your ratchet with a 14 millimeter socket and have a rag handy, because you're going to get a little bit of oil on you. All right. And at this point, it's probably a good idea if you want to, while that oil's draining, you can just kind of take a look around, see underneath here, see if you see any issues. I can tell that I got a little bit of oil. It's a little bit of wetness right here, and that is because I've got, well, you can see that or not. I've got valve cover gaskets leaking, and I'll probably be replacing those pretty soon. It's not leaking super bad, but it's enough that it smokes on the exhaust a little bit. So as soon as that's done draining, I'll put the plug back in and we'll move on to the filter. All right, now that the oil is done draining, just take the drain plug, stick it back in there. You don't have to get super crazy on how tight this plug is. It's good enough. That's the job of the gaskets, to seal it up. So, now that that's done, we're going to move on to the oil filter. Alright, time for the oil filter. Make sure you slide your drain pan over a little bit underneath it. Take your oil filter pliers, strap wrench, whatever you got, and just loosen it up. You're going to get a little bit of oil running out of it. There it goes. Oh, look at that. Here's a perfect example of something to keep an eye on whenever you're changing your oil. See how the O-ring, the sealing O-ring, came out? A lot of times, whenever they come out, they'll stick on here like this. People don't notice it, and then they'll put the new filter on and double gasket it and put the oil in, and then they start it up, and it'll just start leaking really bad. So anytime you pull an oil filter off, and this goes for any vehicle, always make sure that sealing ring, the gasket ring, whatever, comes off with it. So then take your new oil filter and just kind of pre-lube that gasket a little bit, because that will help it come off easier next time. If you put them on dry, they tend to get stuck, and they're really hard. They can be really hard to twist off of there. Usually just kind of hand tighten them. But I like to just get my pliers, oil filter pliers, just give it a little bit of snug, and that's it. That's all she needs. Wipe everything off. And that's that. Alright, now it's time to add the oil. All you gotta do is just take your oil cap off, just put it somewhere safe. You can put it here, put it over on the top of the engine, wherever you want. And then if you do use this Lucas oil stabilizer, I suggest you put it in first, because it is pretty thick, and it does take quite a while to pour out of the bottle. So especially on a cold day like today, like right now, I think it's probably about 35 degrees outside. But once you get it in here, just pour it, or squeeze the bottle. And it'll keep going. Try to be careful with it, because it will overflow the fill tube right here, and it will pour right out. So just keep an eye on it. All right, now it is time to add engine oil. See if that's done draining. Yep, it's good. You can use whatever oil that you choose to. I choose to use Rotella. It's a good oil. It probably helps to check the level to see kind of where we're at. Definitely need a little bit more. Probably need about another 1.5 quarts. Now you got to start it and check it. All right, whenever you go start it, watch your oil pressure gauge right here. Wait for the gauge to come up. There it goes. And then while it's running, I want to go out, go underneath, check the leaks. From there, looking good. Everything's looking good. All right, checked underneath, didn't find any leaks, everything looked good. Oil pressure's up pretty high where it needs to be. Then you just shut it off. Just go out and check the level. Probably want to let it set for maybe a minute to let all the oil drain back down to the pan, and then check it. All right, now it's time to check the oil after the engine ran for a few minutes and I let it set for a few minutes. See if we need to top it off a little more. Take a look here. Yep. See if I can get this in here. If you can see on the stick, it's hard to focus in on that. There you go. It's still just a little bit low. So let's add probably about a half quart will do it. Let's check it one more time. Now, see if we can get it in there. Yep, right on the money. Don't forget to put your cap back on. Put the stick in, little dipstick, and that ought to do it. All right, now it is time to put the dust cover back on. Kind of a turd to get this on here. One. There we go. Bolts in the front. And that's it. It's on there. All right, that should do it. Oil change done. And if you got any questions or comments or whatever, I guess just hit me up in the comments. One of my next videos coming up pretty soon. Be swapping out an engine in a 1991 Ford F-150. This thing is pretty crusty, but I'm going to go through it and make it all nice and pretty and new gaskets and seals and everything. So that one's coming up soon. All right. Thanks. Have a good day.